to the stand. Let the chapters confess. Was it guilty of greatness or guilty of less? I'll follow the feeling, I'll question the hook. Girl, court is in session for evidence of a good book.
A man wakes up in a room he doesn't recognize. He doesn't know his own name. There are two unalived people in beds next to him, and a computer keeps asking him a question that he can't answer. If you came here from TIFF Unraveled, and if you've read this book, your brain went exactly where mine did. That is a crime scene. This warrants an investigation. By the time I closed this book, I wasn't investigating a mystery anymore. I was just sitting on my couch on a Saturday morning earlier this month, holding it against my chest and trying really hard not to wake anybody up. Welcome to Evidence of a Good Book, where we read it, we examine the evidence, and we decide whether it's guilty of keeping us up all night. I'm Tiff. We're putting the plot on the stand. And I need to warn you now, I didn't walk into this one neutral. I'm not going to pretend I did. On the docket today, we have Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. His prior offenses, in case you don't know, include titles like The Martian and Artemis. Let me tell you what this book is, what it's about. A man wakes up alone on a spaceship. He's got no memory of who he is. He's got no idea how he got there. And it slowly starts to come back to him. And as it does, he starts to realize what's at stake. The sun is dying, okay? Not in like some far off way, right? Stars in our corner of the galaxy are being drained by something microscopic. And if it isn't stopped, Earth freezes and billions of people starve within a generation's time, okay? So humanity does the only thing that it can do. It builds one last ship. It aims it at the one star that's still healthy, and it sends someone to find out why, knowing that they can never come home. And the man that wakes up with no memory, he's the one they sent. He is the entire hope of the human race, and he can't even remember his own name. Why did I pick this one up? I picked this one up because I trusted the look on people's faces when they talked about this book. It wasn't like, this was such a good book. It was like they were protecting something. One of my friends literally said, I can't tell you why. You just have to read it. I can't explain it. You have to read it. And so I did. And I want to be honest with you, I did not expect a book about astrophysics to reach into my chest cavity and just squeeze my soul. That's what this book did for me. Here's the vibe, right? On the surface, it's like a sci-fi survival thriller, right? One guy, impossible odds, science holding his life together by a thread. It's funny. It's genuinely tense. Like there were pages where I realized I had stopped breathing. But underneath all of that, it turns out to be a book about loneliness, about what happens when the loneliest person imaginable finds someone to share the dark with. And that's the part that nobody warned me about here. That is the part that I'm still thinking about and will continue to think about. Full transparency, I loved every second of this book. There are criticisms after I finish a book, I always go to Goodreads and like read what people thought about the same book that I just put down. So there were criticisms here, and we'll get there. Let's enter the evidence because there's a lot of it and it builds. Exhibit A, the structure. This book is built somewhat like a mystery, which is exactly why it hits the same nerve as a good case file, right? You're not handed the story. You recover it right alongside of our main character. He wakes up knowing nothing, and the truth starts to come back in these little fragments. And then the clock is running in the present, right? Two timelines, both pulling at you, and you're not You're not reading about an investigation, you're conducting one. My detective brain was right at home. Exhibit B, the science. I'll be honest, right? I did not understand all of it. There's astrophysics, there's microbiology, and there's math just flying by while you're reading this book. It all sounded airtight to me. And that's the magic trick here. It made me feel smart instead of stupid. Sometimes we read books we don't quite understand and we're like, am I an idiot? Like, I can't, I don't get it. I don't get it. This book didn't do it like that. It made you feel smart. Weir is basically admitted to this method. People will forgive any amount of explanation as long as you make them laugh while they're learning it. So every time the science could have turned into like a long, boring lecture, there's a joke made, or there's a problem that could kill our main character, or there's just a small victory, right, that you get to celebrate with him. And you start to learn the hardest concepts without ever really feeling that needle go in. It's so good. So exhibit C, and this is the one I really need to talk to you about. Somewhere in the middle of this book, our guy stops being alone, okay? He meets someone. I'm not going to tell you who just yet. I'm going to protect that the way that it was protected for me until we get to the part of this review. If you want to stay and listen to spoilers, you can. But I do need you to understand what it did to me, right? Because I didn't see it coming. This friendship, it starts from nothing. It's formed between two beings who have nothing in common. Really, they share no language, they share no history, they share no common ground at all, except for this problem that's too big for either one of them. And very slowly, very carefully, through failing together and trying again, they they build trust. And then something more than just trust. And I sat there watching these two strangers become family, like in real time. And I cried more than once, like, and not just like a single tear. Like, there was a moment where there was like actual embarrassing, put the book down and leave the room so no one sees you like this kind of like, you know what I mean? That is the reason everyone should read this book. Everyone. Guys, keep in mind, remember this is all my opinion, okay? Every book is not for everybody, but this one's beautiful. And I'm not alone on the couch here, okay? Goodreads has this book sitting at around 4.5 stars, and Amazon is nearly 4.7 stars. This is a book that people immediately press into someone else's hands the moment they're done reading it, saying the same thing that was said to me. I can't explain it. You just have to experience it for yourself. We will put some of the real weaknesses on the stand because they do exist. Some readers feel them really hard. Objection. The characters feel too perfect. This is the most common criticism, and it's fair. The heroes are clever, they're funny, and they're decent in a way that can feel a little bit frictionless, right? My take, I get it. If you need morally gray, deeply flawed people, which trust me, I love characters like that in the books that I choose to read. It's the kind of characters that we sit with in real life over on Tiff Unraveled. This man is a lot funnier than that. He is easy to root for, and for some readers, too easy, right? Objection. The science can tip into a textbook. It worked on me, right? But I won't pretend that the middle never slows. There are stretches that are here's the problem, here's the math, here's the fix, repeat. I found that rhythm sort of hypnotic, and a lot of other readers can find this rhythm exhausting and say that it just kind of reads like a manual with jokes taped to it. If watching someone solve equations isn't your idea of tension, you're probably going to feel those pages. Objection. The stakes feel a little pre-decided. Because so much of this book is one man just kind of narrating his own survival. Some readers say that you can just assume that he makes it, and that's going to soften the fear that you may feel while you're reading through this. My take, I would kind of push back on that just because the ending does complicate the assumption in a way that I found devastating. But I do understand why readers felt that way. So these were like the main objections that I found once I finished this book. Does the case against it win? For me, no. Absolutely not. But I definitely wanted you to hear that because if any of those objections don't sound like your reading taste, you deserve to know before you give this book your heart the way that I gave it mine. All right. Full spoilers now, the whole thing, including the ending. If you haven't read the book, and if there's any part of you that feels like you might, skip to the timestamp on the screen. I am going to do that this time. I'm learning, guys. Okay. But I mean it. Go read it and then come back here when you're done. I'll be here. I promise. If you don't plan on reading the book and you just want to hear about it, stick around. Full spoilers ahead. Still here? Okay. Come sit with me for this. So his memory comes back in pieces, right? And so does the horror. The thing eating the sun is called astrophage, and the Earth has maybe 30 years left. So there is like this ruthless director. His name is Strat. Strat is handed like nearly total power to build the mission. Okay. Here's the reveal that the book very quietly holds on to until it can hurt you with it. So our guy, his name is Ryland Grace. Okay. He's this warm, sunny narrator that we've been rooting for. He didn't volunteer for this. The mission is one way. You don't come back. It's a death sentence. And when it was real, he refused. He did not want to go. He said, "No, I'm not doing it." And he was drugged and he was put on that ship unconscious and against his will. I kind of love that our hero started out as sort of a coward, right? Because it means that everything good that he becomes, he chooses. He chooses. Nobody is born brave in this book. They earned it. Okay. Rocky. Rocky is an alien. Another dying world sent their own last ship for the same reason. And Rocky is the only one of his crew that's still alive. He's roughly like a spider-shaped creature with like a stone body. He breathes ammonia. He can't perceive light at all. And he understands the entire world through sounds and vibrations. Okay. He and Ryland Grace can't even breathe the same air. They can't even survive the same temperatures. So they never share a single word, but they build a language anyway because they have to save each other's worlds. And somewhere in all of those experiments and failures and those tiny victories, two creatures who have absolutely nothing in common, different air, different bodies, different galaxies, become each other's whole world. It was so beautiful. The most human relationship in the entire book, and one of them is not even human. So that is the thing that this book understands that so many other smarter books don't. Connection is the point. It's the only thing that ever was the point. And then the ending just breaks you open. Grace solves it. He has a way home, actually, back to Earth to be the hero, the man who saved humanity. Everything that he has suffered for is in his reach. But Rocky's ship is failing, and Rocky is gonna die out there alone. So Grace says this, and he turns the ship around and he gives up Earth and he gives up going home for his friend. The man who had to be drugged and dragged onto this ship because he was too afraid to die for strangers chooses at the end of all of this to give up absolutely everything for one friend that he didn't even know existed a year ago. That's the whole arc here. A coward becoming a person measured in the exact thing that he was too scared to do at the start of all of this. And the last image that this book leaves you with is the one that completely just finishes me. Grace ends up living on Erid. This is Rocky's world, okay? In a sealed dome that the Iridians built just for him. They made it Earth-like so that he could survive there. And meanwhile, light years away, the sun is brightening again, Earth is saved. He'll never see it. He's home anyway, though, because for Grace, home turned out to be a person. So beautiful. That's the evidence. That's it disguised itself as a book about saving the world, and it wasn't. It was about the thing that makes the world worth saving. I'm such a baby. All right, it's time for jury instructions. Read this if you love a puzzle, if you love a smart mind under pressure. You will inhale this book. Definitely read it if you're tired of like sci-fi that only knows how to be bleak and you want a story that makes you believe in people. And read it, especially if you've ever loved anyone in this world that you really had nothing in common with. That's who this book is for. Keep your tissues close, okay? Maybe skip this one if you need, like I said, those messy, morally gray, deeply flawed characters in order to feel something when you're reading a book. This hero is definitely shiny and bright. If hard science or math makes your eyes glaze over, right? The explanations, you're going to experience those as kind of a wall for sure. And if you read mostly for lush literary prose, Weir's style is clean and plain. It's not super poetic. None of that is a flaw, in my opinion. It's just going to be different than the books that you're looking for, and that's absolutely okay. Does it deserve the hype? For me, yes, absolutely. So I'm going to be straight with you. This one is another one. I'm like 4.5 gavels, guys. I really, if I have to hold anything back from this book, and I still keep thinking hard about it, some of those objections, they are real for me. It's not going to be quite a 5 because the middle really does ask you to fall in love with watching a man like do math. Those are real, but everything else, the mystery that's kind of unspooling inside your head, the science that's talked about in a way that makes you feel absolutely brilliant when you're reading it, and then a friendship that earned every single tear that it took from me, that evidence is overwhelming. So if you're like me and your 5th gavel is reserved for the book that completely just rearranges something inside of you, though, honestly, this one came so close, much closer than I expected to admit. So that's it, guys. That is case number 2 closed. This is evidence of a good book. This is the sister channel to Tiff Unraveled. If you stayed for the books, I see you. Thank you guys so much for being on this jury with me. Talk to me in the comments. Have you read this book? Did it completely wreck you the way that it wrecked me? What's your verdict? And what should I put on the stand next? I did read one other book at the start of this month. We'll talk about that one next. But if you guys have any suggestions, please, I can devour a book and definitely talk about it. Consider subscribing to the new channel so you don't miss the next case. And until then, keep reading. And remember, every book is innocent until proven unputdownable. Love you.